There we are. Chris Birkmeier today on Play It Forward. We're going to be talking about his film called, let me guess, I know this. And one of the reasons that, I want to bring focus to the title, because I think Lockjaw, the title of your film, really says a lot about the thematic content of the movie. So you were nominated by Gleb Petrov, who made a film called The Temp, and he played it forward here with you today. So Chris, first and foremost, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Totally. Your film, Lockjaw, I want to say it's about 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly right, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not, it seems like a little tongue-in-cheek with the title.
Yeah, the title, I don't know, I've always been very picky with titles. I like to use like one-word titles for some reason. I'm just like simple and to the point. Sometimes I don't really know where they come from. It's just one of those things where I don't really, it just kind of like sounds right to me. And a lot of people are like, well, didn't you think about the themes or anything, or what does that mean? And I'm like, nah, like this just kind of felt like two pit bulls locked in this constant dance in each other's jaws. Like neither's letting the other one go, and it's tearing both of them apart because they want different things, but neither of them are willing to admit it. So that's kind of where the idea of Lockjaw came from. And plus, it's just a snappy sounding title.
Well, that's great that you say that, because I think the title helps. I think titles of anything are so important because they help frame what you're about to experience, whether it's, a poem or work of literature or whatever it might be, right, or a film. So in this case, and it gives you more insight into it. I think that's probably why you're picky, because the title is so important. It's like, what are you going to name your kid kind of thing.
Exactly. It's going to, the title's either going to ruin their lives at school or their name, or it's going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the destiny.
Precedence for everything.
Yeah, it's the precedence for everything. So, and in this movie, I'm just like, so after one of my things in the process of preparing for these interviews, I'm always like, okay, well, yeah, so what are the topical incidences of the film, and what is, the drama in terms of the narrative arc, and what's really happening there subjectively, or in terms of unfolding, and then what's like the meta content, and then the theme of this overarching work. And that to me is where the title comes in, and I'll shut up in a second, is it's about communication and the lack of communication.
Yes.
Is what I, experience. So, what's your experience of that? Because I know you were about to say something.
Well, I think, excuse me, the film really just came from my own personal struggles in a relationship that I was in. It was, the tail end of 3 years long, and like we were kind of getting, bored with everything, and I think he really wanted to sort of open up the relationship, especially the gay community these days. In all communities, but especially in gay people, there's all these apps for instant hookups. You can see how many feet someone is from you, like, that wants to have sex. It's just a little bit overwhelming with all the options. But what it has done is it's created the idea of the grass is always greener. There's always something better. And there is I think some people can handle monogamy, some people cannot. But I can understand the need to like spice it up and bring someone in once in a while, and I'm totally for that. But at the time, I was, I'm born and raised in the Midwest, very traditional, conservative, Republican town. Like that was like, just blew my mind that was a thing, that people would do. Not that I was like, a Mormon or anything, but
I understood totally.
But it was still uncomfortable for me, and so I guess what happened was, that was a long time ago when that happened. I would say like 3 years ago. I've been through a lot since then, but upon reflecting on that situation of that one night that actually happened to me, when my boyfriend was telling me this guy wants to come over, and my inability to deal with it, that always has haunted me. And so I just one time just sat down and I started writing, and that's just what came out. I didn't like sit down and say, what is the meta, narrative that I want to say here. I just wrote exactly how I felt and just like dropped the cards, and however they fell, like, you know, that's kind of, it just formed something.
That's awesome, and that's, yeah, I totally get that, and that's I think a really common artistic process is not to question it, and probably a good one is just to be in the reception and the knowing, and not try to understand it or intellectualize it.
I get so overwhelmed, and I get paralyzed if I think about theme and arcs.
Oh yeah,
I know that it's important, but I think for me they just kind of like come to the surface after I throw up onto the page. I'm like, oh, I can, that makes sense. That connects with this. So that was how Lockjaw was put together.
Totally, and that's the first question that I think you've mostly addressed of the Play It Forward is that, hey, what is the inspiration for this film? And it sounds like what you're saying is it was a night in the life of yours. And I think what's interesting is that, well, you said it's always haunted you. So like you obviously kind of
it's always what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Haunted you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's always haunted you. So it's interesting. I think as a lot of artists do, they create art to heal themselves and to better understand themselves. So what is it that haunted you about that night? Why did it haunt you?
I think because that was the beginning of the end of the relationship. It's like the genesis of this crack of this, that the seed was dropped into, when I kind of realized like there's kind of no turning back. Like this is Pandora's box that's been opened. And he ended up breaking up with me. And that was the first time that had ever happened to me. So to me, it was like, there was a lot of obviously mourning about the relationship, trying to figure out where did it go wrong? What did I do? Was it my fault? Could I have done something different to have saved it? And it always kind of came back to that night. So I think, yeah, just the haunting regret of could I have done something different?
Well, that's really, really cool. I have some thoughts about it, and I think we'll lead into this next question. So that's the first question, is what was inspiration? And then the next question is, what is the message now that you look back on the film to you?
Well, that's a good question. I like that. Let's see. Well, when I watch it now, I'm kind of like, what the hell are you two doing? Like, get out. Like, this is so bad. Right. I look at it now. It's almost embarrassing to watch it now, because I'm like, I just want to be like, oh God, this is so not good. This is not good. But back then, when I first wrote it, I think I was more like, yeah, fuck you, insert ex-boyfriend's name. Yeah. But now I'm just like, no, you guys just don't belong together. Like, there's some peace to it now.
Right.
There's kind of a dislike actually for my character. I'm kind of like, you're just like an idiot. What do you like? Get out.
Watching the film for me, it's like, having any relationship that's not working and watching these two characters go through a relationship that clearly is not working. And I think the title of the film, Lockjaw, and this inability to communicate is all wrapped in there. I mean, it's like, whether you're gay or straight or, something in between or over either of the spectrums, and then wrapping into that full rainbow, it's like if you're introducing like a sideshow into your bedroom to think that's like going to save a communication that's not happening, that seems to be that's like a Hail Mary pass, right?
Oh yeah.
And
it's interesting that you say that, because in retrospect it's all clear to me, but and I realized that, yeah, it's like these people that have, open relationships where they bring a sideshow into the bedroom. Doing that, like, in order to do that, you have to have a solid base between the two partners. Like, things have to be good, going really, really well for that to work. If you bring in this person thinking it's going to fix it when your relationship's already falling apart, it's just too messy. It's about communicating in the first place and being healthy in the first place. For that to work.
So then, boom, right into the third question.
Perfect.
And yeah, it's what have you learned in making the film? And it could be, any side of the production process as well as your own personal process.
I actually learned quite a bit with that. I made that film because I had just moved to Los Angeles, and I felt like I I just needed to make something because I'd been stagnant for like the past 3 years in Seattle. I didn't have any of my film friends, so I wanted to make something, and I wanted to make it quick, and I wanted to make it fun. So I'm like, I'm gonna write this script. We're gonna get together. It's gonna be a super small crew, and we're just gonna shoot it. And the plan was originally to have it all be in one single take, because that's just, I don't know. I wanted it to be a documentary, like we're following them around, but it would all be one take, and it would all be very choreographed, like very choreographed. So the day of the shoot, I couldn't get any microphones. I couldn't get wireless mics. And the person that promised me that they had them, he didn't tell me that they weren't wireless. They had cables that attached to them.
Right.
So we got to the set, and I just realized when we were trying to like block it that there were like 30 feet of cable, you know, like coiling around the apartment, and we were just like, we can't do, like, there's no way we can't do this in one shot because we were going to be tripping ourselves. And so I ended up having to break it down into 3 parts. Like, we'll shoot this part here when they're sitting down and talking, then we'll go to the kitchen and we'll shoot there, and then we'll shoot back in the living room. And so it was just, we had to like think on our feet because our original plan just like went out the window. So that's the first thing I learned is that you have to think on your feet. Filmmaking is just problem solving, and it can be frustrating, but it creates, restrictions create art. So that's the first thing that I learned. The second one was I was putting so much pressure on myself to make it good because I hadn't done anything in a long time, and there was a point like in the middle of the shoot where I couldn't articulate what I wanted this actor to do in this one moment. And I can't remember now exactly what it was. I just remember that I was so upset that I like almost had started having a panic attack. I'm like, I can't fuck this up. I can't fuck this up. And then there was a moment where I just was like, I don't know how. I think this is going to be garbage. I'm like, this film's going to suck. And I literally, I hate to say this, but I kind of gave up in the middle of the shoot. I'm just like, well, it's going to suck. Nobody's going to see it, and that's okay. At least I'm trying. And when I gave into that fear of failing, when I just said, fuck it, all of a sudden everything started to work. And it was really cool. So that's probably the biggest thing that I took away from that shoot. And also maybe in like possibly all the things that I've done is that you can't put so much pressure on yourself. You can't be afraid of failing. You just gotta let it go. So that moment, well, I always think about when I watch that movie. Think about how I almost gave up and then how it worked.
That's a huge life lesson and a huge, artistic lesson in the process. I mean, how does that redefine failure for you?
I'm not really sure what you mean by that, I guess.
Well, I guess whatever you think of as failing, right? So you were like, okay, this film's going to suck. And okay, well, at least I tried. And then you had this point where you reach your emotional climax and you're like, just whatever, it doesn't matter.
I think, froze a little bit. Okay, you're good. I don't think it has completely redefined it for me. I'm still afraid every single day of failing. It's something, reminds me to stay, I don't know. It's something I still struggle with. I have to remind myself, I have to think back to that moment all the time. Just like, hey, this is just make-believe. You're just adults making make-believe. This is not real. This doesn't matter. Nobody's dying. So it's a constant struggle to remember that because there's the stakes out here are so high and everybody's got something going on and you're constantly in this this river trying to keep your head above water, and there's always somebody that's doing something cooler than you, and like it's hard, it's easy to get down on yourself. So you have to just kind of put blinders on and just say, like, I'm just gonna do this, I'm gonna do it the best that I can, and if it's not good enough, that's not my problem.
Yeah. Part of the challenge for artists is that they're trying to make this their primary career, and by that means, well, if this is my primary career, this needs to be my primary source of income.
Yeah.
And so if this is my primary source of income, then they're all host of other measures that come into play, like how am I selling myself? How am I selling my work? What is the commercial marketability of it? And then how does that then compromise what it is you're doing? And how do you keep the two separate? How do you keep your day gig in, the film space? And then how do you keep your artistic integrity without having those, to make generic or, it's I think a more kind of sophisticated word for it, but formulaic or whatever kind of content that's trying to pander to a certain.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting with the whole formulaic thing and like how people measure success. Because I've always, I have a lot of friends, obviously, who are screenwriters, and some are better at, some really are good at dialogue, some are really good at structure. But I always find it interesting if I send a script out for feedback. Some people, you have to kind of pick and choose who you listen to. You have to know when to stop listening. You have to know when to just listen to your own voice, and that's a difficult thing that I struggle with all the time. I think I've learned which people are gonna, like, who I'm writing for. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not writing this one for so and so. Maybe they don't need to read this because they're not gonna get what I'm trying to do. And other times I'm like, hey, I'm really stuck, and this person will actually have some great insight on like how I can, fix this one part. But there was a screenplay I was working on. It was my second feature that I wrote way back in like 2012, and I worked on that for like 2 years, and I sent it to so many different people and got so many different opinions because I was so afraid. Like, it's like, this is my second feature. It has to be perfect. It has to be great, or it won't sell. And I got so many opinions and listened to so many ideas that at the end of the 2 years, I remember looking at the screenplay and being like, I don't even know what this is about anymore. Like, I didn't even write this.
Yeah.
Everyone else did. It was written by a board of, a committee. And so ever since that, like, I've kind of, I've really learned to trust myself more and to kind of pick who I'm trying to, who I'm trying to impress, I guess. It's like impress. I don't know, it's a bad word, but you get what I'm saying. I was reading a book. I can't remember the name of it, unfortunately, but it was about screenwriting, and it was and this mantra that I actually like have on a sticky note, and I put it on my computer, and it never leaves the computer.
Oh, that's great.
Is follow the fun.
Uh-huh.
If you're not having fun writing this scene, if it starts to feel like work to you, if you're not enjoying it, it's not right. Follow the fun. And every time I've been like, if I've been sitting down for writing for 4 hours or something, and I'm just like banging my head against the wall, and I'm like, I'll ask myself, like, is this fun? Am I having fun right now? And if the answer is no, then I'll change something drastically. I'll kill off one of the characters, or do something to like just make it fun again. Like, what do you want to see on screen? What makes you happy? And fuck it if someone else. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can swear on here.
Yeah, no, it's totally good. Internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And screw it if it doesn't impress, the 20th Century Fox, because it means a lot to me.
Right. Yeah. No, that's.
But you also got to pay the bills. So that's the line you have to dance.
That's very true.
It's a confusing system. I'm not quite sure where things are going. I'm not sure where things are going to settle once once we find our footing. I'm not sure if we ever will.
Yeah. Agreed.
Everything's changing so quickly. It's just it's crazy.
Agreed. Well, I think the best thing that we can do is stay on course.
Yeah.
And keep making the work, and would love to see more of your work. Let us keep us posted. We'll be happy to share this film.
I actually am in post-production on a new short. It's another it's like 8 minutes long. Very different film, but I'm super excited about it. So I'll be sure to keep you in the loop with it, because I'd love to share it.
Awesome. Well, Chris Birkmeier with Lockjaw, man. Lockjaw. Chris Birkmeier, Lockjaw. Thank you so much for being on the show, man. I look forward to sharing the post and keeping in touch, and all the best, man.
Thanks so much, man. Good talking to you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in this week. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and leave us a like and or a comment. It makes a big difference. Play It Forward is brought to you by Digipops, where we're building a community to put film and filmmaker discovery in your hands. Here, filmmakers and fans, the creative class, recognizes each other fairly and transparently through a community-curated film festival each quarter. It's coming soon. Thank you.